Welcome to Support Life, a program focusing on current social issues from a life-affirming perspective. I'm Gavin Baulch, and later in the program we will be featuring one of the Street Talk interviews. And we recorded this last December with members of the public in the Bourke St Mall in Melbourne. But for now, our guest is Daniel Manzini from Youth Mission Teen. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, Gavin.
Now, Manzini is a very famous name when it comes to movies and sound.
Musicians.
Exactly,
Action.
right. And so I know that your father's not named Henry, but I believe that there's a brother in your family who is into music or sound recording. Want to tell me about that?
Well, he's my second oldest brother, Michael. He's about 26. He has been in the music industry since he was in maybe year 10. And so he's done a lot of recording, band competitions. At one stage he was actually in 6 bands, so that was pretty impressive. And we have our own band, and we like just recording music. We've done about 16 albums since March 2012. And so, yeah, he's quite into the musical arts, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're into that a little bit too. So does theatre play a role in your life?
It does. I've actually done quite a few productions through the local community theatre back in Wollongong, where I'm originally from, and with the school. So I've been in Annie the Musical, and I've also been in Carousel, the musical from Rodgers and Hammerstein, and another musical called Disco Inferno, and I've done various other small musicals with the community theatre as well.
Well, that's awesome. Now, I believe that another brother has cerebral palsy. Yes. Tell me about him a little bit.
So Chris is about 23, and he's been in a wheelchair for most of his life. Now, when he was about 3 years old, they wanted to put him on tube feeding, but my mum was very adamant in saying, no, we can't let him do that because, you know, he won't be at his full potential in life. So we agreed to disregard that, and he can eat for himself. Like, we feed him, we clothe him, and so he's very he's much part of our routine. We base our life around him, and he's such a great man to be around. Brings joy to a lot of people. So throughout my life, I've been quite involved with the disabled community and going to mass and disability awareness masses and that sort of thing. So it's really quite interesting. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So life is precious, and his life means so much to everybody.
Yeah.
Now, there's something about pain and suffering and bearing our cross, which is often a throwaway line. You've been through a little bit of pain and suffering yourself. What did that look like?
So since I was possibly as young as I could remember, I was probably about year 4 when it started to happen. I had anxiety, had a bit of obsessive compulsive disorder as well in the past. And so I would suffer a bit in pressures of trying to fit into groups and overthinking. And so throughout the years it caused a bit of emotional pain in understanding others. And so when I came to later in my schooling, I started to put myself out there a bit more and try to understand others' pain who are also in my situation. Yeah.
Okay, so what spectrum did they put you in?
So when I was about 5, I was put in the autism spectrum, Asperger's, so it was only a mild disability, and since I was in kinder, I would be very unfocused. I'd be a bit off the wall. Red ice blocks weren't an option when I was younger, and so throughout the years I sort of grew up with it, knowing that I had it, and that there was always something I could do about it. And saw a few doctors as I was growing up, like health doctors. But my mum always would say, you know, I'm not going to let him go on medication or anything, because the way he is so precious already. You know, we have to cherish him and we do what's best. And that was from a Catholic family, and just that perspective was amazing. And so throughout the years, I began to manage it. Yeah.
Okay. Now you're 19 years of age at this
19.
point. Okay, so you've had a very full life so far, and I would imagine many wonderful years ahead of you, particularly with the experiences you bring to the table. Life's journey, a bit like Frodo, right? You've met some pretty wonderful people on that journey, which have spoken into this spectrum of autism, etc. Tell me about some of these amazing people that you've met.
So as I was younger, when I finished year 10, I was having a bit of a troubled time with anxiety. And so my mum recommended I go to Wollongong University to see the psychology faculty. And so throughout the years, since 2010 to 2013, I'd seen about 4 counsellors. They were all secular counsellors. And then I saw their boss last year. So I was quite overwhelmed. I was quite worried about it. And but the Lord actually put those people in my life to lead me to youth mission team, I feel. And at the start of this year, when I commenced that work at training, I met 2 priests from the Missionaries of God's Love, Priests and Brothers, and they actually were able to point out certain issues that no secular counsellor and none of those 5 people could actually identify. And they actually spoke some truth back into my life, and I felt real again. I felt as I was a person. And it just was amazing how it worked out. So I think the Lord really worked there. Being on youth mission team, I actually met the team back in 2011, and they were quite a enthusiastic group of young men and women, and they related to me in such a way that I kept going to the youth group, and then inspired me in the way that I know that anxiety can't affect me if I have a relationship with God. And that's what I came to realise last year.
So the youth mission team that you met, it was while you were at school or secondary school?
Whilst I was at secondary school,
yes. And this is where this impact of their lives has played a part in yours. Hence, you're on the mission team.
That's right.
And you're in Melbourne from Wollongong for
12 months.
12 months, okay, so there's maybe 7 months to go. Yep. Okay, what's happened so far?
So this year, it's been quite a journey, like challenges, victories. So at the start of this year, we went to Tasmania, to St Mary's, Hobart. And being our very first school that we had, it was all girls year 12. And it was a 2-day retreat. We usually just do the 1 day. And so it was a challenging time, but it had much fruit. And it was really just a time in itself to get to know how we minister and what our strengths were and how we relate to each member of the team. After that, around Easter time, we had a lot of time with ministry and going to schools and relating to each other. And a lot of the time it was just like relationship building, becoming closer as a team, and running our first I Stand camp. I Stand is our youth group through the youth mission team. Yeah. And so doing that, I ran music ministry. I'm a bass guitarist myself, and I actually was able to help youth to be led to God through music. Okay,
well just on that note, we'll take a break.
Sure.
And you're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and our guest is Daniel Manzini from Youth Mission Team Australia. Well, Daniel, we were talking about music before and how that played a role in the school. So tell me a little bit about it.
So being in this music ministry, I came to learn a lot about it from last year's Youth Mission Team in Wollongong with one of the members of the team being a professional musician. She taught me a lot about how to really lead youth to God. And I really felt prompted to do it this year. And it's just an amazing experience. Like, to coordinate a band of like 5 to 7 people is just phenomenal. I want to do it a lot more. So, yeah.
Okay, now when you came first to the youth missions team for training, you were sharing that you may have come with the wrong motive initially. What happened there? What was the transition?
So at first the motive was to want to do youth mission team the way I wanted to do it. So I wasn't thinking of what the Lord wanted, because I came from a background where I was focusing a lot on myself, and I didn't have very good morals at times. At other times I did. But the transition was that I realised after so long, I'd been praying, invoking the Holy Spirit to come, and it really showed me that I'm here to serve to youth and to give them the reason for their hope. And it's just amazing. Yeah.
So the focus went from navel-gazing upon yourself to starting to consider others, a little bit with the compassion that Jesus would have had for his neighbour. Well, that's excellent. Now, you as a younger person had some experiences in bullying? Yeah.
So I'd been bullied from about as long as I could remember at school. Really, kinder to year 10 were the main years that occurred. Now in high school I went to an all-boys Catholic school, private, and so it was very hard for me to understand how to relate to others, just because of the bullying effect. But when I got to year 10, I had a bit of a struggle within my anxiety and felt a bit depressed. And then really miraculously the next year I began to find friends, and I began to find a group that loved me for who I was. And I found this to be the same in our youth group that the youth mission team ran around that time as well.
It's a fantastic experience, isn't it, to experience the love of God through other human beings. And it kind of says that it is possible to connect with the source of love.
It is, yes.
Excellent. All right, so now here you are in Melbourne, serving, been to Tasmania. What would you say, or what do you say, when you're in front of kids in secondary school, whether they be young men, young women? I guess you'd call it, what do you testify to?
Well, I talk about my life. I give my testimony on account of who I am as a person, who I was, where I'm now, and what I want to be in the future.
Right, well, let's look at the future. What do you want to be in the future?
So in the future, I had a few different plans in the past. I'm considering to become a counsellor or even psychologist, possibly being taught Catholic psychology and secular psychology, because Catholic psychology can really bring forth a lot more than secular psychology can. And for me, back in the past, I had gone through times where I wanted to be a gardener by trade. I wanted to be a restaurant owner. I wanted to be, I just wanted to be someone that I wasn't too sure of at that time, because there were so many different voices in my head. But being a counsellor would really work well with this year of mission, helping young people and talking to them.
Well, it would seem that this year in missions is just one significant experience, but you've got 19 years of life's experience, and very rich, and you have a lot to give. And Youth Missions Australia has really opened that up, hasn't it?
Yes, very much over the last 3 years.
Now, any mentors along the way?
Mentors, as far as that goes, I think from year 11, I had no idea what faith was. And when I was in college last year, I met the Disciples of Jesus leader in Wollongong, and his name's Chris Abel. And so he gave me a lot of life tips, a lot of rules and that sort of thing in the way that missionary life goes. His son's done youth mission team in Melbourne as well. And so he sort of brought me from the path of, I want to do team for the wrong reasons to, I know who I am and I can do this for the right reasons in God. That is just one person. Missionaries of God's Love priest, Father Tony Schick, has helped me along the way by helping me to realise who I am as a person. The Awareness Centre organisation, Marcel Copal, has also proven to me, who is my counsellor this year, he has shown me in so many ways of what it is to just not worry and trust in God. So it's amazing, yeah.
Now, prayer has played an enormous role in this through what I would call informative education. How did that come about?
Prayer, well, in the past I used to pray, but I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know how to really pray. But through being involved in a course of business administration last year, diploma, I was very caught up in the world itself, and I wasn't giving any of my time to God, really. But I was a leader of our youth group, and I started to actually pray just after I applied for youth mission team in July 2013. And through that time, it had actually helped me a lot. And I think the prayers that helped me the most were the novena to St Mary. There are many different novenas, but they've really helped me to understand where I'm going in life. And yes.
Okay, so we could say that there have been significant moments that you would probably call miracles from your perspective, and then as you've shared this with others. So you've moved away from this spirit of timidity to understanding that you have a sound mind. Love is a key part, and prayer plays significantly into that.
Yeah.
What's happening this week with Youth Missions Australia?
This week in particular, we have 3 school days. So we go out to the schools and we minister to young people, and we do all that is what they usually do, like music, activities, games, and it's all centred on the Lord Himself. And so we'll be doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday school days. Today being public holiday, we'll be working again tomorrow. So that's all that we'll be doing.
Well, that's excellent, Daniel, and I thank you for sharing your life with us.
No worries.
You're watching Support Life, and that's all for our conversation with Daniel. But stay tuned, because after the break, we'll be back with one of the Street Talk interviews that we recorded last December with members of the public in the Bourke St Mall in Melbourne.
Hi Lynn, welcome to our Channel 31 Support Life program. Got a couple of questions to ask you. Do you value human life?
Yes, highly. Very highly.
What do you know about the current abortion laws in Victoria?
That we have fairly flexible ones, that the woman has a right to make her decision. That's probably about it.
Okay. Have you or anyone that you know ever been affected by the loss of a loved one?
Yes, parents, but not somebody younger as such. No. Parents, yes, definitely parents and friends.
Now, I've got a question for you. If you heard that a pregnant woman died, for example, in a car accident, okay, would you consider the child in her womb a second death or not?
Yes. I would, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us why?
Because I believe life starts at conception and it's a life from then on, and that life has a right to live, yes.
if an infant was developing, as a young child, as a human, we all agree that it's a human. But what about if it's developing 3 to 6 months in the mother's womb? Would it be considered a human as well?
Yes.
You want to elaborate why?
Because if life starts at conception, yes, it is a life from there on in, so therefore it is a human.
Human, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. And under what circumstances would it be justifiable to terminate a child in the womb?
From my point of view, never. But I guess there's circumstances that people find themselves in that they would find intolerable, or they would see that the child wasn't going to have a worthwhile life further on. But I couldn't bring myself to do that.
And do you think people are influenced by political and social pressures to terminate or abort a child these days?
Yes. Now, you want me to elaborate on that? I think the world's opened up since my day. I think that we see the world in a different light. I think our values have changed, but I would still hold to mine that it's not right to abort.
There's 100,000 children aborted in Australia yearly. If there was another sector of the human race that was so mistreated, would you think it would be fair that people should stand up and argue for those rights of the unborn?
Yes. Now you're going to ask me why. I still life is precious, and none of us have a right to take a life. I don't believe in an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I think there's ways of working through things, and because of my own life situation, I wouldn't have children if those children had been aborted.
And there's a lot of, no doubt, beautiful memories and days, and they give you lots of tremendous, beautiful times. And unfortunately, currently in Victoria, the abortion laws extend that people can terminate a life right up until birth. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I was, yes. I think it's wrong. And I guess I'm coloured by the fact that my children weren't aborted. And I have a lovely 39-year-old daughter and a lovely 35-year-old son and 5 beautiful grandchildren as a result of that. And I can do things like this today with them. They could have been aborted and I wouldn't have had children.
And he looks like a beautiful boy as well. So thank you so much for coming on board and talking. We appreciate it very much. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you.